Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached a time in our lives. It's still pretty hot outside, but I think we're almost past the dog days of summer. It's still sweaty hot though, so I know some people might disagree with me there. But football returns in just a couple days. That means Sundays are booked now until February. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. On today's episode, we will break down some of the week one matchups for you on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Plus, we will provide a week to week pick 'em on who we like to win out of a select few week matchups. It's going to be a lot of fun right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. But a huge thanks to our sponsors, because without our sponsors, the Kirby on Sports podcast would not be possible. PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett, Pest, and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, and the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Don't Sleep Energy. It's about time to get this show on the road. The Kirby on Sports podcast comes your way next. You smell that? You smell that? It smells like the taste of chips and salsa, chili con queso, and all the other snacks you bring come week one, because week one is here. We're not going to waste any more time. Unfortunately, Dan is not with us. He should be back next week, but we have a very legendary host beside me today. One, the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez. Good evening, buddy.
Yes. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Week One podcast. Let's go. That's how you do an intro, Kirby. Your intro was way too long. Welcome, gentlemen, to the NFL football season, kicking off on Thursday freaking night with the Kansas City Chiefs defending their title against the Detroit Lions. Let's go. You're welcome. No, not yet.
Oh, we're not doing that yet?
No, not yet.
I thought you were cueing it.
No, not yet.
Well, we're not going to waste any more time. Starting off with the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City.
The reigning, defending, undisputed NFL Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. All right.
Hosting the Detroit Lions. And while you may not think this is a good matchup, I think
Whoa. Do not put me in that. I didn't say that. When did I say that?
Well, you're a Chiefs fan, I would assume.
So that doesn't mean I don't think this is a good matchup. Don't assume.
Well, what I'm
making
trying
all
to
these
say
statements, assuming.
What I'm trying to say here is, I think that the Lions there is a sliver. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not surprised if the Lions find a way to upset I think the Lions have that drive in them
Mm-hmm.
this season with Dan Campbell. But again, I could be wrong, and the Chiefs could annihilate the Lions. But
So, uh-huh.
I think this could be a very intriguing matchup. And if the Lions find a way to upset, a lot of storylines to come out of it.
I mean, so yes, I mean, you're not wrong. There is definitely a possibility of the Detroit Lions upsetting the Kansas City Chiefs, especially after today's news of Travis Kelce hyperextending his knee. So that takes away Patrick Mahomes' most reliable weapon.
That just
And
really
now
sucks.
it really does, especially this close to the season. And big Travis Kelce fan over here. I got his Super Bowl, whatever, with the Super Bowl patch jersey in my closet. But yeah, no, I mean, look, the first game of the season is always very weird. The Thursday night game has been strange. Last year, I mean, the Rams lost to the Bills, and it wasn't really that close. The year before that, Dallas plays a thriller with Tampa Bay. It's just one of those, like, it's the first game of the season, so it's sloppier. It's a lot more open. Some teams didn't play their starters a lot. The Chiefs did, so luckily they've experienced live rounds. But again, the Chiefs are missing some things. They're missing Chris Jones, obviously, with the whole contract dispute right now. Like I mentioned before, Travis Kelce, it's looking like he may not play on Thursday. It's not decided yet. And my guess is he probably won't, considering how close we are to the game. And, he practically only has like 48 hours to heal up enough to play. I don't think he's going to. I think they just take the precaution. And now we're going to have to see who steps up. Obviously they're going into the season with, with not a lot of, I guess, star power at the receiving core. Obviously, it's another year of a full offseason with Kadarius Toney. He's probably going to be the number one. Sky Moore gets another, it's his second season as well, or it's just his second season, just in general. And then, obviously you got MVS, Scantley. Maybe this is like a big game for him, but Kansas City is just going to have to, adapt and understand that the whole team is not just Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Like, Patrick Mahomes can distribute the ball to everybody, and it's not only Travis Kelce that it passes to. But you did say, well, this Detroit Lions team is scrappy, and they're looking to have themselves a good season. And there's a lot of positive energy coming out of this past offseason with the Detroit Lions. A lot of promise has been shown, and they made some interesting moves in the draft. I want to say, not moves that I would make, but moves that they believe in, and they have themselves a young team that wants to make a statement. And what better statement to make than on opening night against the Super Bowl champs?
So, did you hear Motor City Dan Campbell's press conference by chance? Some reporter was asking him about Patrick Mahomes and how do you look to stop him? And he's like, hopefully we send him throwing the ball backwards, because anytime else Patrick Mahomes can make something happen. Like, he was complimenting Mahomes at the same time with all the stuff he has the ability to do as a starting quarterback. But you hear Dan Campbell's comments, and he was joking around, sort of like comical with the press. And he's like, hopefully he just throws the ball backwards and we can just contain him, because that's the only way I think we're going to stop him, because he's so versatile.
Yeah, obviously we all know Patrick Mahomes is he's a one of one. There's people try to make comparisons to him, but nobody is Patrick Mahomes, and we all know what he's capable of. We've seen what he can do. But again, this is going to be the first time in a while that he's going to have to do it with no Tyreek and no Travis Kelce. Like he doesn't have the two guys that have really helped him become the myth that he is. But I have faith in him. I've always said he's the best quarterback in the league right now. And yeah, I think for sure it'll be interesting to see, how he navigates this whole situation.
And I'm not doubting the fact that the Chiefs can't overcome, because I mean, you have a terrific coaching staff there in Andy Reid and company. So yeah, I wouldn't put too much stock into the fact that the Chiefs are missing some players, because I think they can easily compensate for that week one until
I agree.
Chris Jones's contract dispute and until Travis Kelce gets healthy. So I think this is going to be a marquee matchup, but I just think it's going to be very interesting to see.
I think it's gonna be fun on Thursday. Like I think
really fun.
Either way, it'll be a fun game. I do obviously still have the Chiefs winning. I don't think Detroit is. I'm not saying that they don't pose a challenge, because they definitely pose a challenge, but I don't think that. I think a lot of people are hyping Detroit up a little too much based off of how they ended the season last year. Because let's be honest, it's still Detroit.
Yeah.
It's not as
it was an exciting finish, but
it was an exciting finish. And granted, they beat the Packers, but the Packers weren't good last year.
No,
so it's, to me, it's like, it's a lot of like just, recency bias, I guess you could say, with the Detroit Lions. But like, we got to understand, like, they're still the Detroit Lions. Like, they got to show me that they're going to actually do something this season before I'm going to automatically start, hyping them up and thinking that they're actually going to be something.
Absolutely. I'm just really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun just to sit on the couch. I already have my 2 TVs set up here in the man cave here. So football.
We finally upgrade?
No, I've had 2 TVs.
Oh, I'm disappointed.
Well, would you like me to get a third one?
I would like you to get a 55-inch.
Criticizing my TV choices here.
Listen, we're not going to get into it. Let's move on.
All right. What game are we touching on next? Swiss Army knife.
I say we go to the armpit of America, which is Ohio, and we talk about the 2 Ohio teams in Cleveland and Cincinnati.
This is actually a tough one to choose from.
I think it's tough more so because we don't know the extent of Joe Burrow's injury. Also,
absolutely.
Are we even positive he's going to play?
I researched it. I can't really say for sure. I've seen numerous reports.
This is very annoying because this is like they have not given us they haven't given us much on the extent of the injury, how bad it is. And like they're waiting until the last possible second to tell people whether he's playing or not. And that's kind of like messing up like how either way. I just don't think Joe Burrow has had enough live snaps this offseason for him to play at the high level that we're used to him playing. So
I agree with that
even
too.
Even if he plays this week, I do not foresee the Bengals looking like, the way they looked at the end of the season last year. Like I don't foresee it. And also they've started out slow the past 2 years. They started out slow the year they went to the Super Bowl, and then they started out really slow last year where they were like, I think they were like 1-2, like going into week 4. Like they lost to Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. So, that was one of Cooper Rush's wins last season. So they lost a lot of pieces on defense. Deshaun Watson is, we all know how we feel about the whole controversy that he's had.
Yeah.
But, all in all, is he going to be able to find that high elite form that he had in his last few years with the Texans? The Browns are kind of stacked. They're like a really good team, actually.
Yeah. And with the uncertainty of Joe Burrow, That's why this game is a big question mark to me.
I think because of the uncertainty of Joe Burrow, I think that plays more in the favor of Cleveland because Cleveland's been knowing what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think Cleveland has the advantage in this game. And and I've run a few like simulations of the season with one of the, season simulators or whatever, where you pick the winners and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just always lean towards Cleveland winning this game. I just have this like strange feeling that they're going to win this game, but it's a game. We got to remember with week one, let's not overreact with anything that happens in week one because week one is always a weird week.
Yeah.
It's after we get through the first month of the season, we start to see the trends and we start to pick up on what teams are actually going to do something this year.
Absolutely.
But yeah, dude, this AFC North is just absolutely stacked in my opinion. Like the more I like think about it, the more I break it down. I know we did our preview podcast last episode, a few weeks ago. But we didn't necessarily, we kind of said it was a 2-horse race between the Bengals and the Ravens. I kind of want to take that statement back because I think all the teams are in play here. I think the Steelers are a dark horse here. They look very good, this preseason. And I think Cleveland is also like, Cleveland could win the division. I could realistically see them actually taking the division depending on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I can agree with you on many sentiments there. I feel like the Steelers also, because Kenny Pickett, I've seen some of his play and he's
looked good.
Pretty good.
He's looked pretty good. And George Pickens, another season of him.
Absolutely.
They made some investments on their offensive line, so their offensive line is doing much better. I mean, they just look like they're a dark horse, man. Like I didn't want to necessarily believe in it, but you got one of the best coaches in the game in Mike Tomlin. So you're pretty much guaranteed to not have at least a losing season. I really like Pittsburgh. I'm not gonna lie, I really like Pittsburgh, but to this game, I mean, yeah, I'm leaning towards the Browns here. I think the Browns have the advantage.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards them too because Joe Burrow.
I don't even know who the Bengals backup quarterback is.
That's what I'm saying. Like, who do the Bengals have?
I know they have Will Grier as their third option because he signed with them after he got cut by Dallas.
Yeah, after a star-studded game and he gets cut by Dallas.
Yeah, but we have a project. He knew he was going to get cut before he had that game, and that's why he had that game so he could put something on tape for other teams to look at, and he looked damn good. It's just I don't know who the Bengals backup quarterback is. It's
well, I'll put something. If Joe Burrow doesn't play, thank God it's week one.
Yes. Thank God it's week one. And also
because later in the season, that might screw you in the long run.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, they have to be cautious here. Look, Dak Prescott, during the 2021 season, remember, he was playing at an MVP level and pulled his calf. And then he was not quite the same after that because he came back relatively quickly. He came back so we went into the bye week and then he missed the next game. And that was when we got our first taste of Cooper Rush. And, but like, even when he came back, he wasn't the same. Like, he was not playing the same as how he did before. So I think you want to give yourself as much time as possible. Now, granted, Joe Burrow's had like at least a month, to heal this calf. But, the difference being is Joe Burrow had to be helped off the field completely, right? Like when he hurt his, Dak Prescott still walked off the field when he strained his calf. So my guess is they're trying not to tell us how severe the injury is, but I'm guessing it's rather severe. I'm not saying like it's torn or anything, but I'm guessing it's a pretty bad strain to where, it's going to take more time for that muscle to, get back to normal.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't really have much to add, but to wrap this all up, I agree with you there that I'm leaning more towards the Browns.
Yeah, me too. I'm leaning towards the Browns here. I think I just don't necessarily see how, even if Joe Burrow plays, that Cincinnati. I mean, if Joe Burrow plays, there's always they always have the chance at winning. Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the league. in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he's had enough live action, enough practice to, be able to, really hurt this Cleveland Browns team the way we kind of expect him to. And it's the AFC North. It's just tough. So that's all I got.
You're listening to the Kirby on Sports podcast, and we'll be back with so much more right after this break. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Welcoming you back to the Kirby on Sports podcast. I'm joined by Carlos, the Swiss Army Knife Martinez. I'm Josh Kirby, and Dan could not be with us today, but we hope to have him back by next week. So the next game I'm hoping we can touch on is not a lot of, more like off the field than on the field, but the Commanders versus the Cardinals, because obviously what we've seen out of the Cardinals is they're probably absolutely imploding on themselves right now. Cutting Colt McCoy.
Imploding. I think they're just tanking. They're purposely tanking. Sorry, I moved away from my microphone. I don't think they're imploding at all.
I think they're purposely tanking.
They're purposely doing this. Come on, you don't trade away your best, your whole team basically. You don't let DeAndre Hopkins go on purpose by and think that it's them imploding. No, they're doing this purposefully. They're making a play. They know they're not going to be good this season.
Yeah. I think, I just don't even know who their starting quarterback is.
That's why Dobbs, if I had to guess, but I could be wrong about that.
Well, so the reason why I want to touch on this game is the Commanders announced this is 100% sold out, which is huge.
Which, it can say sold out, but that doesn't necessarily mean tickets aren't available. It just means all the tickets have been bought for, but there's probably tickets still. There's definitely tickets still for sale. But at least we know that every ticket has at least been bought. So hopefully, it's going to be a big crowd there for sure. There's a lot of excitement.
The energy, there's going to be something that fans like us have never seen before.
I wouldn't say ever before. Let's not.
In quite some time.
At least in some time for sure, yeah. I wouldn't say like never before because, there's been Super Bowl seasons. There's been, even more recently, there's been some season, there was the RG3 season, where he did pretty well. And there was a lot of hype going into that. This fan base has been so like deprived of anything to be happy for, especially more recently, that like it's actually refreshing to see like this fan base like be excited about something.
I mean, just looking at this game
Mm.
and looking at this week 1 game, it makes me think with what the Cardinals have been doing is if the Commanders come out and lay an egg, the fans are going to get really pissed because on paper, this is a game that should be an
Easy
easy
win. Easy
cakewalk.
win. Yeah, it
But
should be.
you know how the Commanders treat us fans.
I
Blow a
think
dud.
listen, Ron Rivera is not like I'm not that high on him as a coach. I don't think he's done much to really have any confidence per se, I guess you could say, because I mean, let's be honest, like what has he really done? He won the division because the division sucked and somebody had to win the division,
Yep.
you know. Um and since then, what has Washington really done? I mean, last season's absolute debacle of, trying to make the playoffs and then him like not realizing that if they don't win that game, they get eliminated. Like that's insane to me. Like that's just poor coaching. I mean, I think now there's all this stuff about him and Eric Bieniemy and just like how there are different vibes and stuff like that. I don't know. Um, I think you should be. I don't think you should necessarily be that worried about this game. I understand like you guys have been burned in the past, but I think given how bad Arizona is, like what does Arizona really have for you guys to fear? Like nothing. You guys have the superior weapons. You guys have a defense on both sides of the ball, on defense and offense. I think it's clearly you guys. The Commanders are definitely way better than the Cardinals. And I think this is the perfect game for Sam Howell to get, some more, experience. Obviously, he played the game against the Cowboys last season, but and he's looked pretty good this preseason. But like I think this is the perfect game for him to start the season. And this is going to give you, and this is the perfect game for you guys to at least try to build some confidence, knowing that you guys are going to run the gauntlet here. And hopefully you guys can get like something going with this game to where it'll at least maybe afford you a couple, at least good performances against these stronger teams that are about to come, through or come your guys' way.
I agree. So for the quote unquote sold out crowd at FedEx, the Commanders still don't know the status of Chase Young's stinger, which at this point, the Chase Young roulette is,
It has been a
in my
failure.
opinion,
It's been a
I think it
failure
might
so
be
far.
getting close to an end, unfortunately. I hate
Well,
to say it,
they
but
already did not pick up his 5th-year option.
well, he has to prove that.
Well, but they can't pick it up anymore. Like they had their chance, they declined it. So this is it. Like this is his contract year. If he does not play and perform well, then just cut bait. I mean, Chase Young was a player with a lot of promise. We've seen how he looks physically. Like he's a monster. Like he's a beast. But there was a lot of hype for him coming out of Ohio State, and he played relatively well his rookie year. But since then, obviously he hurt his ACL, but before he hurt his ACL, it wasn't like he was doing that great. And since then, he just hasn't done much. And you're right. He needs to prove that he was worth all that hype. And right now, I mean, you just got to say like the Chase Young experiment has been a failure
So far, because
so far.
anything can happen during this season, but I'm just very disappointed because he came out, he played so well. I was at the game where he tore his ACL. I'm like, this is not good. They ended up beating Tampa Bay still, but I mean, still just seeing him walk off in pain, and then all of last season, all the hype was a camera on Chase Young on the sidelines in a hoodie, hat, beanie, sunglasses. And I mean, I'm looking at my father. I'm like, oh, look, Dad, it's Chase Young. He's like, I don't know why they why they keep showing him on camera. He just needs to get out there and play some football and whatnot. And I mean, obviously, the Commanders have their reasons for keeping him longer. When I honestly, I think they kept him out a little bit longer because, I mean, I would have. How do I say this? I would have been not surprised if he came back the Giants Sunday night game, but I guess they just didn't want to risk any more injury. Obviously,
Hmm.
well, that whole last season with just him getting spotlighted on the sideline, like that was the big storyline. When's Chase Young coming back? What's he going to look like once he comes back? And we just kept hearing it the whole season. The fan base and all the media was asking the same thing. When is Chase Young coming back? And it was pretty annoying. And now with the stinger, it's like, is he going to be there week one? Is he going to start week one? And again, it's just really, really aggravating sometimes.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, yeah, no, I can definitely see how, because he was supposed to be the franchise. He was supposed to be the guy. Like, he was supposed to be the dude who was gonna like push you guys to the next level, and he hasn't necessarily been there. And it's just been a lot of will he or won't he? And at this point, it's like, why are we still doing this? Like, why not just cut bait, get what we can for him, and let's just move on. But I don't know, man. I think Chase Young is a super talented player. It's just he hasn't shown it since coming to the NFL. So if they're gonna hold on to him, like, then we need to see it, is what we're trying to say.
But other than that, I'm just glad to see and hear from numerous connections their excitement for coming out to FedEx Field on Sunday, watching the Cardinals
New
play.
ownership has come out and said, that they're going to revamp the whole experience
Yep.
at FedEx Field.
I forgot to mention that. I'm glad you brought it up.
What was it, $40 million or something like
Yep.
that into, and it's not. They said like you'll see some immediate changes, obviously, but as the season goes on, more changes are going to come and whatnot. That I think they're putting in new video boards and everything. I mean, I'm excited to we made our decision on which game the crew is going to this season, and we will be frequenting FedEx Field this season. But yeah, no, like, I'm excited to see what changes they make. It just being, I mean, I hope that they get rid of these stupid parking passes. How much we have to pay for those? I hope that they eventually get rid of those, but
That would be nice.
because that was a Dan Snyder thing that he wanted that, and I don't know, but I'm just excited to see to go there, for that Thursday night game and feel the energy of of the fan base, see how kind of gauge. Hopefully, by the time we get to that game, Washington isn't like 1-3 or something. Hopefully, they have a decent record and there's a lot of hype going into that game. But yeah, I mean, I would be excited if I was a Commanders fan for this, because it looks like you finally got an owner who's going to invest in the fans and in the experience of the fans and isn't in it for just the money.
I agree. And I'm happy for all the fans too, because it's a long time coming for generational people like me who's hasn't been around the glory days, so to say.
Yeah.
The bleachers bouncing at RFK, for an example. And the fans screaming, and no offense, Carlos, we want Dallas. We want Dallas. But that's the stuff they would do back in the day. So maybe with this new ownership and all these changes, it might go back to the way it once was before.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
All right, my friend, what are we touching on next?
I guess we're just going to move up the road into the great state of Pennsylvania, and we're probably going to talk about 49ers Steelers.
49ers, I don't know. I still don't know why they traded away Trey Lance. That's just my opinion. I feel like Kyle Shanahan was talking like, oh, Trey's going to be the guy. Trey's the guy.
When
Trey,
was he talking like that? When do you think he
last
was
year
talking?
before he got injured.
Yeah, before he got injured. And then what happened? They found Brock Purdy.
Yeah, no, but still, he still mentioned, and I could be wrong, that when he's healthy, Trey will be the guy. I thought I heard something like
I don't
that.
know. I don't follow Kyle Shanahan's comments
Well,
like that.
I thought I heard something of that nature, and I could be wrong. And then I hear Trey Lance traded to Dallas. I'm like, so why
Well,
did they
because they
do
weren't
that?
gonna go with him. They weren't gonna go with Trey Lance. They understood that maybe he needed a change. They put so much pressure on this kid who had not a lot of experience in terms of football. He hadn't played a lot. He only played one season at North Dakota State. Then it was the COVID year where he only played one game, and it was just a showcase game for him. They trade 3 first-round picks to move up. He's not even Trey Lance wasn't even the guy that Kyle Shanahan wanted. Kyle Shanahan actually was trading up to get Mac Jones. That's the quarterback he wanted, but then he was talked into Trey Lance. So they draft this kid. You had this whole thing with Jimmy G where, okay, now, and then, where one season it's his team, then the next season it's not. All of a sudden they're like, oh no, but this is Trey Lance's team, despite the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo had, taken us to the Super Bowl like 2 years prior. And then you come into this, or actually, no, the year before they went to the NFC Championship game. That's right. Yeah, they were just at the NFC Championship game. Then the next season, all of a sudden, it's, oh no, Jimmy G isn't gonna, he's no longer our starter, even though he, took us to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that really didn't sit right with me.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. But then, Jimmy G's off to the side doing his own thing, waiting for a trade. Then, he has a rough first game. Granted, it was in Chicago in a monsoon, basically.
Yeah.
And, he was starting to kind of get going a little bit in that second game. I don't remember who they were playing. And then all of a sudden he breaks his leg. And so then, then it's Jimmy G's time again. And then Jimmy G gets hurt. And then Brock Purdy comes in and lights up the NFL world. And, gets the 49ers all the way to the NFC Championship game. And then, of course, they had the whole injury things that happened. And that was the most boring NFC Championship of all time. Well, I want to say of all time.
Couldn't throw the ball.
No, he couldn't throw the ball. And then, of course, Josh Johnson couldn't do anything. And then that's why now we have the third quarterback rule. But yeah, no, look, Purdy became the guy, and Purdy is more of Kyle Shanahan's quarterback. Like, that's the type of guy that he likes. And then they signed Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold apparently has looked very good in camp. And don't be surprised if Brock Purdy does not look good and he really struggles here in the first few weeks of the season. Do not be surprised if they make the change and go with Sam Darnold instead.
So my question here, do we think Brock Purdy could eventually be the real deal for the 49ers, or was this
I need to see more.
flash in the pan?
I need to see more. I think look, there's a reason why he was the last pick of the draft. It's because nobody really saw much, but I think obviously, that now teams are going to have more time to kind of figure out what Brock Purdy is. And it'll be interesting to see his development as a quarterback. Is he for real? We have to see it. Like, yeah, it was a cool story last year, but that was last season. Now we have to see it. Now you're the guy. You are the starting quarterback. Show me what you like. Show me. Like, you got to show me something here.
Yeah. But on the other side of the ball, I don't really have a lot of.
I mean, we already kind of touched on the Steelers. So
I mean, they have Kenny Pickett. I think he'll do fine.
I think he'll
George
be okay
Pickens,
which one of the best, who will be one of the best receivers in the league here in a few years. He's already he's on his way. He's very good.
And it's a home game for the. Yeah, it's a home game for the Steelers.
It's a home game for the Steelers.
I would go on a limb and say, yeah, the Steelers probably take this game.
I'm going with the Steelers too, to be honest. I think there's just too many questions on also there's no Nick Bosa.
That's true. We totally forgot that point.
Nick Bosa is also holding out the same way Chris Jones is. So there's no Nick Bosa on the 49ers.
Man, what is it
And
with all these holdouts?
well, listen, people want their money, man. I mean, they're putting their bodies, their lives on the line every day, and yeah, go get your money, go get your because you only have a finite amount of time to make money in the NFL, and you gotta maximize the amount of dollars you get as much as you can. So I totally understand why Joey Bosa is holding out, and but and the 49ers defense will be okay without him. It's not like Joey Bosa is the only thing. They have Fred Warner. They have a bunch of other guys that escape me at the moment. I think they'll be okay. I mean, they still have they still have Christian McCaffrey, obviously, and Debo. So, I mean, it's not like Bosa's like the one and only thing they got going for them. It's just we got to see, how does Brock Purdy look without, post UCL injury in his elbow. That's the other thing. It's only been what, 8 months, 7 months since he tore. I mean, I thought he was going to be out until like the Dallas game. I thought that's how long it was going to take to heal, but somehow he's back. So it'll be interesting to see how he looks.
Yeah, I'm not really sure recovery time for.
I don't know either. It's not an injury that happens very often in the NFL. It's more of a baseball injury.
Throwing motion, right?
It's a baseball injury. It's like a ligament in your elbow, so it's more of like something that pitchers get.
Yeah,
more so than quarterbacks.
Which, as he throws the football, I wonder how that injury could affect throwing the football in the future, if any.
Well, I mean, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see.
We'll just have to wait and see for sure. But before we move any further, I want to take a minute to talk about my friends over at Shenandoah Music. Shenandoah Music is there to help you and your beginning band students. School is in full swing, and that means band and all the band classes are getting back together. They have an easy and hassle-free online rental process, with top quality instruments from Yamaha, Ludwig, Smeller, Scherl, and even more. All of their instruments are band director approved, and they even partner with local directors to make sure your student is getting the exact equipment or accessories he or she needs. You can rent online at www.shenmusicstore.com. Once again, big thanks to our friends over at Shenandoah Music. We'll take another break, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dembski. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
Hey, Kirby on Sports podcast listeners, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate here. You know, it may seem scary or daunting at first to think about buying or selling a home. Well, look no further. Give me a call, 540-247-1527. There's nothing more than I love to do than help my friends make those transactions fun, interesting, and at the end of the day, productive. Look me up online, iconsales.com, and even better, find me on my podcast, Iconic Talk, with my co-host Megan Eanes. On any podcast platform, we will share all the local news about real estate markets and our local community. It's educational. Look us up. We'd love to help you. Iconsales.com, 540-247-1527. Josh, back to you.
All right. Welcome back to the Kirby on Sports podcast. It's Carlos the Swiss Army Knife Martinez. I'm Josh Kirby, and you disappeared on us there for a second.
I don't know what happened, man. I got scared. I got really scared for a second. I was like, what the hell just happened?
All right, Carlos, what is the next game we should touch on?
We're going down to the bayou. We're going down to New Orleans to see a good friend of mine, to go see the Tennessee Titans against the New Orleans Saints.
Well, all right. The Saints, I have a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Derek Carr or is it Jameis Winston? I mean, a fair point. Jameis probably knows the system.
Oh, are you talking about who? No, they're going to start Derek Carr. What the heck are you talking about? Why would they start Jameis Winston over Derek Carr?
I thought there was a question on who was starting.
No. They're going to start Derek Carr.
Yeah, so Jameis is probably going to be the backup there.
Yeah, Jameis is the backup.
Did you see that thing where they brought who in as an unpaid observer working with Derek Carr?
No, John Gruden? Are you talking about?
Yeah,
him?
Gruden.
I don't know. I didn't see any story.
I saw that, and I was reading into why, and I was like, why is he there in a Saints visor and Saints shirt? I'm like, surely he was not let back into the league to coach, but apparently they let him be an unpaid observer working with Derek Carr. I looked at that and I was like, what is going on here?
I don't know, dude. I couldn't tell you. I've not really paid attention too much on New Orleans training camp. I just know that I really like their roster and their schedule. So
I'm just wondering how Derek Carr is going to do.
I think he'll do okay. I think he'll be. I mean, they have a pretty good team, in terms of like weapons for him to use. A lot more than, let's say, like what they had in Vegas, where they only had like Devontae Adams and Darren Waller.
I think a fresh new system for Derek Carr is
needed.
Good for him.
I mean,
after everything that went on with the Raiders, I'm like, it could be good for him. I think he could potentially turn things around and maybe become a quarterback that the league talks about for a while.
I mean, like I said, this Saints team has one of the easiest schedules I've seen. I have them winning like a good amount of games. I have them making the playoffs. But don't sleep on a lot of people are sleeping on this Tennessee team. And I don't necessarily understand why.
I'm not sleeping on them.
I'm not saying you, but I'm saying a lot of people are just automatically penciling in the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, granted, I think Jacksonville will be good, but this Tennessee is they're looking really good in my opinion. I mean, they obviously have DeAndre Hopkins now. It'll be Ryan Tannehill back at quarterback, so somebody a little more stable than say the rotating door that they kept having at the end of the season. Derrick Henry, hopefully he can get back to form. Obviously they had Will Compton just retired. But that's besides the point. But they drafted that the rookie. His name escapes me. The rookie running back who will hopefully take some snaps off of Derrick Henry, so they don't have to rely on him so much. Burke, who was starting to look like like he was starting to come into his own as a wide receiver. But before he got injured, I think that's how you say his name. Burke. I don't remember, but yeah, he looked pretty good. I mean, and then obviously it's Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is a very good coach, and last season was just their season from hell, in my opinion. So I actually have Tennessee winning this game, but I have New Orleans having a good season, and I have Tennessee at least at the bare minimum in a dogfight for the division with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Were you talking about rookie Tajay Spears, that draft pick? The running back?
Say yes.
Yeah. He was a third round. It was via a trade from Detroit via Arizona. And they picked up Tajay Spears from Tulane. I did not see anything on him But
No, he's a decent running back, but that's what I'm saying. Like they got this kid to kind of help take the load off of Derrick Henry.
yeah, which is a good thing because you're going to need Derrick Henry power back to be rested up for your big key plays on third and manageable, third and short, fourth and goal for the win. You name it. Derrick Henry can do it. And yeah, I think the Saints could maybe give the Titans a run for their money in this game, but
I do too.
overall, I think the Titans would come out on the upper hand.
I agree. I have Tennessee winning this game. I think I just really like I don't know. I just really like their team right now. And but I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans somehow, if they do win this game. I'm telling you, New Orleans, a lot of same thing with New Orleans. A lot of people are sleeping on this New Orleans team. And granted, it's because, there's been a lot of dysfunction in the franchise lately, but I really like this New Orleans team. That the NFC South is one of the worst divisions in football right now. There's nobody there really to stop them. They have the most experienced quarterback in that division. And a lot of people are kind of penciling the Falcons. I don't know why. Like, what have the Falcons really shown us? I don't really believe too much in Desmond Ridder yet. He didn't show me much last season, so I think the safe bet will be New Orleans because New Orleans has tons of experience on this roster. They have, they traded for Derek Carr, and granted, I think the only question mark is the coach. And maybe Michael Thomas is health, but aside from that, I really like New Orleans, and I think don't be surprised if they somehow pull out the number one seed, but it'll be a number one seed of like, it'll be kind of like Philly last year, where it's like, but you beat a bunch of like cookie cutter teams. Now, granted, Philly was for real, but New Orleans, it'll be kind of like, you beat down on a lot of bad teams. That's why you're in this position, while the rest of us had to play all the good teams.
Man, I think I might have a reasoning behind why people are penciling in Atlanta, because they have a backup quarterback by the name of Taylor Heineke on that roster now.
Because Heineke really worked out for you guys, and he really showed what he was capable of with you guys as a starter.
No, well, maybe the legend of Taylor Heineke moves down to Atlanta, but
so the legend of almost winning a playoff game and then never making the playoff since. The legend of Heineke stinks.
Well, it got fans bumping, and back in the old Commander days, the fans needed something to rave about, and that was something. But
sure.
What's next on the list, Mr. Swiss Army Knife?
I don't know. You tell me.
I'd like to touch on this briefly. It seems like the Cowboys are on week 1 Sunday night every single year, and they're usually always facing the Giants every other year.
Maybe. I don't know. The last 2 seasons it was Tampa Bay. But yeah, no.
I said every other year.
Yeah, I mean the last 2 seasons it was Tampa Bay. Obviously, we opened their Super Bowl season, or after they won the Super Bowl with them, and then we opened last season with them, in which Dak Prescott got hurt. But yeah, it's kind of been a while since we've opened the season against the Giants. I feel like
it's always a matchup that gets people going in the NFC East. The Giants. I mean,
well, here's a stat for you. Dak Prescott has not lost to the New York Giants since 2016.
Book it.
Like, they haven't, yeah. I mean, look, it came out this week that Tyler Smith, the left guard, they're taking some precautions with him because he had some hamstring tightness or discomfort, I should say. So that'll be something to look at. Hopefully that's not going to be anything terrible. But really, aside from that, this Dallas team is going in relatively healthy, knock on wood. But the Giants, they made some pretty decent moves. Obviously, re-signing Daniel Jones and franchise tagging Saquon Barkley to then only re-sign him to for another $1 million, basically. To get those guys back, to then trade for Darren Waller, which is they needed, somebody that was going to be, Daniel Jones' security blanket. Apparently, he's been really, really vibing well with Darren, Darren Waller, and even to the point where they had to take Darren Waller off the field during the preseason because they're like, look, you got to try to like build some connections here with some other guys here because you can't just keep passing it to him. They drafted I can't remember. They drafted a kid. I think he was from TCU. I think. I might be wrong, but they drafted a wide receiver who's gonna really. He's a speedster. He can really take the top off of the. Hold on.
Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee.
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt, and yeah, I mean they're going to be pretty dangerous.
I'm interested to see how Dallas's defense starts up because I mean obviously we know Dallas's defense on paper looks astonishing, like brutal, killer. Like offenses are probably going to fear them, but I wonder if they're going to need a little bit of time to get warmed up to get started, or if they just go straight out of the gates full force and the defense looks incredible. But I mean, yeah, I mean, like with Micah Parsons coming back, I think that's going to help. Their first round pick. You mentioned off camera that he might not be starting, but
Mozzie Smith is not starting. Mozzie Smith is, they're going with Jonathan Hankins, the guy that they traded for last season from the Raiders, who they re-signed. They're bringing him. He's going to be the starter, and then probably Ozzie Odigizua is going to be the backup, just because these are guys with more experience. And Mozzie didn't necessarily have the best preseason, honestly. He's a guy that I am excited about, but I think he just needs some more time. He'll be in the rotation for sure, but he's not going to be a starter.
Yeah, but again, I'm just looking at this defense, and are they going to get out to a high-powered start?
Yeah, why wouldn't they?
Well, no, it's the start of the season. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying, are they going to need some time to get acclimated, or
no?
Because if that's the case, I think
no. Why would they need time to get acclimated? This is literally all the key players have been in the system for 3 years at this point with Dan Quinn. The only difference is Stephon Gilmore, who we know how elite he is. I'm not worried about him. He'll find his way, and that's about it. The safeties are the same. The rest of the defensive backs are the same. Our linebacking crew, we have, Leighton Vander Esch back running that whole area right there. Obviously, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence. That defense is stacked with guys that have been in the system for a few years now. So I'm not necessarily worried about them being at, having a slow starter. They're not going to. And this is the Giants we're talking about here. It's not like the Giants are, they're not a team that I necessarily fear, but it is week 1, and Mike McCarthy's record thus far as head coach, he's lost every week 1 matchup that he's coached. I mean, we'll see we'll see what happens, but I have faith in Dan Quinn, making sure that he has these guys ready to go, and it'll be interesting to see how this new Mike McCarthy led offense is going to look, this Texas Coast offense that they keep talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see an NFC East battle on Sunday night. Those are obviously fun to watch if you're a fan or not.
Well, the Cowboys are always, top tier television.
Yeah. They always throw them on top tier television.
Well, they always throw them in primetime because they know they're going to get the most eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, we might as well just go ahead and talk Bills Jets.
That's what I was thinking right there. Josh Allen against Mr. Aaron Rodgers in a new home, the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers, I think, I don't know, just I mean, looking at that picture he posted and tagging David Bakhtiari, I don't know if you saw that, but
This
I
is basically becoming the New York Packers at this point. He's literally just bringing. It's just Aaron Rodgers and friends.
Yeah,
He's trying to pull.
I think Aaron Rodgers is trying to pull a lot of strings to get.
He's trying to pull the.
Who he wants.
He's trying to pull the. And they've given him this power. I don't know why they're giving this much power to a 40-year-old quarterback who just came off one of the worst seasons of his career. But whatever. Look, I mean, a lot of people are hyping up this Jets team. Obviously, they were the Hard Knocks team, and usually the team that's on Hard Knocks gets a lot of hype for you know. I mean. But
the Jets limited access on that too.
Sure, whatever. But to me, it's like I don't know. I don't think this is gonna go the way people are kind of thinking it's gonna go. I don't think Aaron Rodgers. I think they're gonna have a really rough start because Dallas is gonna be motivated in week 2 to get a win over Aaron Rodgers for all the pain he has caused us. And obviously Mike McCarthy wants a win against him, and we almost had it, and then we completely blew it last season against the Packers. But this is not an easy start to the season. I mean, the Buffalo Bills, granted, yeah, they've had some issues here in the past couple seasons in terms of the way they finished their seasons. With the way they've gone out on the playoffs. Obviously, they had the spectacular game against the Chiefs in which there was just nothing they could really do. Patrick Mahomes just pulled, a rabbit out of his butt to make it happen.
He's known for that too.
And then last year they obviously got completely out-muscled and outplayed by Cincinnati, at home in the snow. And a lot of people have been very disappointed with the fact that this team has maybe possibly missed their window. But be that as it may, Josh Allen is the third best quarterback in the league. This Bills team is super tough, and they're catching them at the beginning of the season, in which we know the Bills play very well at the beginning of the season. So, and Josh Allen has more experience with his guys than, say, Aaron Rodgers has with his. Aaron Rodgers is just still learning his new teammates. And we know how big trust is for Aaron Rodgers when it comes to his receivers and his teammates around him. Has he had enough time to build that trust to where he's comfortable on relying on these guys, on these young guys? And I don't think and also Robert Saleh, what has he shown us as a coach? Like, I haven't seen anything that makes me think that he's a good coach yet. I think he's a good defensive coach, but I don't think he's a good I don't think he's really done much as a head coach.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how this relationship is going to go with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this could be a one and done type of thing. He just goes out and retires after 1 year because he's officially the oldest quarterback in the league. How much more does he have left in the tank, I wonder?
I have no idea. I mean, we'll see. I mean, like I said, last season was one of his worst seasons in a long time. Obviously, he came off with 2 MVP seasons, and then he just completely sucked last season, to be honest. Yeah. And that makes me even more angry at the fact that Dallas lost to him, because it was just like, man, like that was the time for us to finally get our revenge. We're gonna get another crack. Obviously, I will always be terrified of Aaron Rodgers just because of all the pain he has caused Dallas. But I don't know, man. Do I really put a lot of faith in a 40-year-old quarterback who could barely do anything last season? I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see.
But all in all, I have the Bills winning.
I do as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty easy there, Monday Night Football. But it's another good matchup. Looking at Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers, some storylines around that going to be obviously, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of. Have they ever played each other before? I don't even think they've ever played each other. I don't remember an Aaron Rodgers Josh Allen matchup. Obviously, they play in different conferences, so this might actually be the first time that they play each other. No, I'm pretty sure they played each other before, but not like this, where Josh Allen is now in his career.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever. So this will be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how Aaron Rodgers plays, but I'm not really sure how the Jets are going to per se look. because coming off Aaron Rodgers' worst season, it just gives me question marks.
Agreed.
So, well, I think we've about accurately touched on NFL Week 1.
Well, a few games. There's obviously a few games that we didn't touch on, but
you get the idea. I mean, you have the Seahawks, Rams. I mean, you know,
the Rams. I'm not, especially with the whole Cooper Cup thing. It's not looking good for them this season.
I mean, the Patriots and the Eagles. I mean,
the Eagles should relatively win that game pretty easily. I don't have a lot of faith in New England this season.
The Dolphins and the Chargers. I mean,
we could ease that. That's going to be a good matchup. That was a game that we definitely should have touched on. But I mean,
I think it will.
I think no, it's going to be a good game. I mean, it's on our pick'ems this week, so I think it's going to be a great matchup. I don't know. I obviously still have my doubts on the Chargers with Staley as their coach. Obviously, they picked up Kellen Moore after we let him go, and they got Dalton Schultz as well, our old tight end. And granted, for all my gripes with Kellen Moore he's a good offensive coordinator. He is. I just don't think his system was working for Dallas anymore, and I think that's why they needed to make a change. And I think he'll do great. I think he's going to do great in Los Angeles. I do. I think he's going to take Justin Herbert. I was like, Josh Herbert. I was like, that doesn't sound right. Justin Herbert. The Jays, man, they get me. Justin Herbert. I think they're going to take he's going to take his game to the next level. Now, is that going to result in them not blowing a 27-point lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs? Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I think the changes he's going to make to the offense, I think are going to be great.
You also have the Bears and the Packers. I easily see the Bears winning that game.
I can see the Packers winning too at the same time. I mean, Jordan Love has had time to sit back and really absorb things from Aaron Rodgers. In the games that he did come in last season, he looked pretty good. So, I guess we'll see how that goes. But I would also probably go with the Bears.
The Vikings and the Bucks, obviously Baker Mayfield starting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's going to be a rough game. I have the Vikings winning just because the talent is much better on the Vikings than on. Yeah.
And rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson starting his NFL career off against the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. I think. I mean,
the Colts have nothing this season, so
yeah. D'Amico Ryans his debut as head coach for the Texans against the Ravens, I think.
Yeah, but we're going with the Ravens here.
Panthers and Falcons. I mean, Bryce Young, Alabama quarterback. Not sure how he's going to do, but wait and see there. And other than that, that's pretty much it for week 1.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
Very. Very excited. I cannot wait for Thursday. I cannot wait for Sunday. I already have my plans set for how I'm going to consume Sunday. It's going to be a good time.
Oh yeah. It's going to be a great time for sure. It's going to be an incredible time.
It's going to be a blast. And the group chat is going to be going crazy between us all.
Yes.
I cannot wait for Sunday.
I can't wait for Thursday.
I mean, I can't wait for Thursday, but I just can't. Sunday is just, that's going to be like, okay,
dude, we made it at a time and just on full blast.
We're going to be like, we made it. We're here. I'm going to have all my screens going with something. I'm going to have my computer going. I'm going to have I might even have 3 TVs going. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to have myself a nice spread of food. For just myself, because I love consuming week 1 by myself.
Oh yeah.
We'll go. We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Well, you heard it from us. Week 1, we're going to take a break and discuss our pick'ems when we return, right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast.
Bed bugs. The only thing creepier than thinking about them is actually having them. Trust me, you don't want to have them. Locally owned and operated Barrett Pest and Termite Services can keep you from having bed bug nightmares and infestations. Call 540-340-3922 to schedule your free inspection and consultation. If bed bugs are already in your home, we'll get rid of them so you can rest easy. We also specialize in keeping homes and businesses free of other pests, including rodents and termites. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
Hi, this is Mark Peter Lynch with Guild Mortgage. One of the greatest joys in doing business over the last 30 years in the Shenandoah Valley is helping people buy their first home. Buying their first home and putting the keys in their hand at the closing table has brought me so much joy. If you want to buy your first home, a second home, or an investment property, or build wealth through investment in real estate, give me a call. My phone number is 540-664-4700, or you can find me on the World Wide Web at www.marksmortgage.com.
It is now time to unveil a very new segment, a year-long Pick'em challenge that was brought to us an idea by the Swiss Army knife. And I think it's a better idea. And we're going to roll with it, see how it works. So each and every week we'll pick from, you said 5, right?
6.
6 games.
I think we landed on 6 games every week. And that's how we're going to determine who the champion will be this season, because we're going to go all the way through the playoffs and through to the Super Bowl. Instead of just doing the playoffs, we're going to do the whole season.
Yep.
And the winner is going to get a lovely, customized Kirby on Sports PickEm's Championship belt that we will all pass around.
And your belts.
Well, listen, I can't share my belts because they're mine. But with this one, we can easily pass it around, and to whoever wins it at the end of the season.
So without further ado, we should take a look at these picks.
Well, let's have a look. So here we are. Boom. New graphic, updated look. NFL Pick'em's week 1. We chose the 6 games that we chose were Bengals, Browns with their lovely new logo.
We have
the Cowboys, Giants, the Dolphins, Chargers, the Bills, Jets, the Titans, Saints, and the 49ers and Steelers. So Dan, of course, is not here, but Dan's picks are, he has picked the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Titans, and the 49ers. Kirby, go ahead and explain your picks, I guess.
My picks, I will be picking the Browns, the Cowboys, the Chargers, the Bills, the Titans, and the Steelers.
And then
that Chargers pick does look a little strange, but I think
I don't think it's that strange. I don't think it's strange at all.
And no, after talking about it, and you're like, "Oh, Staley is the head coach." I'm like, "Wait, I picked the Charger. I forgot who I picked there for a second."
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad pick, but like that factored into my decision making on who I was going to pick. I picked the Browns, but I did this mostly under the assumption that Joe Burrow was not going to play. Obviously, I'm contractually obligated to always pick the Cowboys. And Kirby finally listened to me and picked with logic and not his bias, and also picked the Cowboys. We all picked the Cowboys to beat the Giants, which, I mean, to be honest, it's one of the safer picks to make. I also picked the Dolphins along with Dan. We all picked the Buffalo Bills, which is interesting. I thought we were going to have a little more variety in that pick. Originally I said Titans were going to win, but on my pick'ems I picked the Saints because you guys both picked the Titans. I didn't want us to keep picking the same teams, so I was like, screw it, I'm going to be the guy who goes the other way. I'm going to pick the Saints to beat the Titans. And then 49ers, Steelers, me and Kirby both picked the Steelers, and Dan is the sole 49er lover over there. So those are our pick'ems, and we'll see how they turn out.
So I'm looking at the graph.
By the way, that's FedEx Field in the background.
Yeah. I just noticed that.
Yeah, that's FedEx Field in the background.
It's the old FedEx Field too.
Yeah, because it has the old Redskins stuff on there.
But yeah, I was looking, I was like, oh wow, okay. But anyways, we're going to update this each and every week. We'll post this graphic on our social medias. Keep a running tab, follow along with us, and make your picks with us if you want. See if you're better than the Swiss Army knife Carlos Martinez.
Yeah, see if you guys can take the championship off of me. I mean it. I'm very high on my picks. I think we're gonna do good. I mean, there's not a lot of differences in our picks. Like for the most part, Kirby, we're pretty much picking the same thing. Like we both picked the Browns, we both picked the Cowboys, we both picked the Bills, and we both picked the Steelers.
Yeah.
So I think that's 1, 2, 3. So for 4 of the 6 games, we have the same picks.
Yeah,
So,
it's going to be interesting for sure. It's going to be fun, this new element talking about our picks instead of a slow hurry up offense, we like to call it.
Yeah, well, we'll
Shall we pause for a moment of silence in honor of the hurry up offense? Heck no.
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
Well, before we close this out, I'm queuing it up because the Chiefs and the Lions are on Thursday night.
And the home of the Chiefs. You went too long.
You have our picks. You have our analysis, minus Dan. We hope to see him next week. And that does it for another edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Carlos, I'm excited to ride along with you throughout this season. I'm glad you're back with us. It's always a pleasure chopping it up with you, buddy.
Yeah, let's do it, dude. Another season coming up. I'm excited. I cannot wait for football to start. And then I guarantee you halfway through the season, I'm going to be like, I'm ready for it to be over. But yes, this season is going to be very exciting. I have a lot of high hopes for both my teams. I have this. I don't want to get too high on it because obviously, you know, Dallas has broken my heart plenty of times. But there's something in the air, man. I feel something feels different this season. I'm not saying it's our year. I'm not saying we're going to win the Super Bowl, but I feel like the Dallas Cowboys are going to have a good year. Kansas City's Kansas City. They're always going to do well as long as Patrick Mahomes is breathing. And I don't know, man. It just looks like all of our teams are poised to have. Granted, maybe Washington will have a little more frustrating season just because they're going up against a lot of good teams. I still think there's going to be a lot of, I think there's going to be a lot to look forward to in the future for Washington. And then Baltimore, Baltimore, I mean, they took care of Lamar, and now it's going to be about can they win something? Can they get further than the divisional round of the playoffs?
I agree with you. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure, but I'm going to derail this conversation just for a second.
Okay.
Do you think Deion Sanders is the real deal?
Listen, like that was nothing to sneeze at, man. Like they beat the defending champ, or not the defending champs. I'm sorry, the runner up. I mean, they beat TCU, which granted, it's not, obviously a lot of players left that were part of that championship team, but still, like they went in there and they played relatively well. It's not like they were given the win. Like they had to fight back every time to win that game. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens this Saturday against Nebraska. Another big noon kickoff game, which is surprised. I guess
they're going to carry Colorado.
I guess that's what I'm saying. I guess we're just going to ride Colorado all season.
Yeah, it used to be Ohio State. Now it's Colorado with Deion and Shader Sanders.
Yeah, but
Deion and his 2 sons.
Do I think he's the real deal? I think he is. I mean, he did well at Jacksonville State, and he's doing well here now. Now, obviously, some people had some issues with his methods on how he came into the team and all that stuff, but I think ultimately he knew the type of culture and tone he wanted to set. He wasn't going to baby these kids.
Yeah,
and I think I think he's going to be good for that program. I really do.
It's crazy to see him with two sons, and one of his sons is a starting quarterback, and he threw for the most passing yards in school history. That says a lot.
It was a great performance, man, and it was really fun to watch. It was really good to see. And listen, I think I think he's the real deal. But obviously we have to see more. This is only his first game. As the season goes on, more teams are going to kind of figure out what Colorado is.
It was just crazy to see that game opening up college football.
I think the crazier game that was on was Florida State's beatdown of LSU.
Oh yeah.
What was another one?
Virginia Tech, baby.
Clemson completely, pooping the bed and letting Duke of all teams beat them. I mean, that was insane to me. How far Clemson has fallen from the Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence days. They have completely fallen off. And yeah, I mean, look, last Saturday was a lot of fun because that's what I love. College football is always like the precursor. Like they always start the week before the NFL, so it's like, yes, we're almost there. And then of course now we're getting into NFL football, which is the main event. That was the appetizer. Now we're approaching the main course, and I'm super excited, dude.
Listen, if we had 3-4 hours to talk about NFL and college, I'd do it, but we just don't have the time. But I'm hoping to do some sort of mini college something if you're down for it, but more behind the scenes discussions. But touching on some college, because I'd like to try to implement that in some way, shape, or form, but not really in a full scale episode per se. So, something to think
maybe
about.
If not this season, I mean, at least next season we'll have the more expanded playoffs to talk about, because this is the last season they're doing the 4 teams. They'll expand to 12 teams next year. So maybe next year will probably be a more fun time to talk about it, because there'll be hopefully a little more parity than the Ohio States, the Alabamas, and the Georgias.
But until then, the NFL season is looming. The Chiefs and the Lions on Thursday, a full slate on Sunday. And you catch us right back here next week, and we'll have more football for you right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. For our sponsors, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett Pest and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Don't Sleep Energy, and Shenandoah Music. We cannot thank our sponsors enough. Check us out on all streaming platforms, all social media platforms, and www.kirbyonsports.com. Until the next time you hear us or see us, always remember to create greatness, and we say so long and peace out.